As severe weather continues to intensify around the country and here at home, so too should our strategies for escaping to safety. Here to share more on South Carolina's new evacuation zone is Thomas McNeil, Emergency Management Director for Dorchester County. Thomas, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
So I have to ask, what is the difference between an evacuation zone and an evacuation route?
So an evacuation zone is a geographical territory that's giving a letter designation so that when we choose to announce an evacuation, we can do it by location. And then an evacuation route is the road system that you should be taking from your home or location to escape the threat.
Okay, so once your zone needs to get evacuated, then you take the evacuation route.
Right.
Okay, and now how many evacuation zones do we have?
There's quite a few throughout the state. Then there's 6 in total, but the different zones, A, B, C, and D, and so forth, are spread throughout the entire coastal region.
And now, so what has changed recently with the evacuation zones?
So as part of a larger federal FEMA project, each state was asked to take another look at their evacuation zones to make some modifications to them based off of best practices and some of the things we've learned about how the public evacuates and some of the challenges that have happened around the nation. So the state of South Carolina worked with all the coastal communities to take a hard look at our evacuation zones and make some modifications.
And now, is this something that changes pretty frequently?
No, it doesn't. I mean, occasionally a local jurisdiction will make some modifications, especially based on growth, changes to infrastructure. But this is the first time it's been done as a state and especially as a nation. Yeah.
And so what is the most important things that we need to know now that these evacuation zones have changed?
You need to know your zone. So going to hurricane.sc here in South Carolina takes you to the state of South Carolina's Emergency Management Division's website, where you can plug in the address of where you live, where you work, where your family lives, and know exactly which zone you're in, and then also get information on what is the best route to take. We all see the signs, the blue signs all over, and you know, those signs are going to lead you inland, those evacuation routes. And it's important to stick to the evacuation route that you've been put on because it's been designed by the Department of Transportation and the state police to maximize the efficiency of all the folks trying to head in one direction at once.
Yeah. And now, can you speak to some of the predictions of what this hurricane season is going to bring for the Low Country?
Yeah, so we're still waiting on the National Hurricane Center to put out their outlook. It should be coming soon. And then some of the universities and others that study hurricanes have predicted this to be a more robust season for hurricanes and very much on the high end of predictions. What does that mean? That means we could see a lot more tropical cyclone activity in the Atlantic and in the Caribbean. They could all stay out to sea, but it only takes one to make landfall to create significant issues. Yeah.
And now, speaking of those issues, what do we need to know to be prepared in case of a tropical storm?
The biggest thing is know your zone, know the threats. We know that there's so many folks who have moved to the region with our growth here in the Charleston region especially, that have never lived in hurricane country before. And we want them to understand what the threat is, especially where they live and where they work, understand what impacts may occur based off of that threat, and to make their own decisions wisely. The biggest thing as an emergency manager is the public needs to understand that the last thing we want to do is evacuate. So by the time it gets to a point where we're asking folks to evacuate, we would really like them to heed the warning because we've tried everything we can for folks not to evacuate. And that's a pretty important thing, that we are consulting with all the experts, all the meteorologists, National Hurricane Center, local television meteorologists. We're all discussing it together, so we know the threat better than everyone. And if we're asking you to leave, you should heed the warning.
Yeah, and take it seriously. And now, really quick, due to the high amount of potential hurricanes that we're seeing this season, what are the factors that are contributing to that?
So there's a lot at play in the atmosphere as far as you know, the steering currents, the warmth of the Atlantic and the Caribbean seas, how much expected dust is coming off of the Africa continent. All contributes to the predictions of this being a more significant season than normal.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for joining us, and we can all stay up to date. What was that website one more time?
It's hurricane.sc.
Hurricane.sc. That's where we will be up to date on all the information, and also know your zone.
Right.
Hurricane.sc. Thomas, thank you so much.
Thank you.
We're back in 2 minutes.